Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today's conversation is for anyone who's sitting in that in-between place where on paper life looks fine, but inside you know something's off and you're starting to quietly wonder, is this really it? So today I'm talking with Lucy, and you're going to hear a story that I think so many of us are living some version of. Lucy started out in this big, high-achieving, high-trajectory career. She was recruited globally, moved across the world, built this identity around being the one who performed, who delivered, who made it happen. And then life came in hard. Health emergencies with her kids, leaving her own family support system, a marriage ending, COVID, trying to keep everyone afloat. That season forced her to pause her career and put everyone else first. And here's what I love about Lucy. She's honest about the fact that it's not easy. She didn't just say family first, done, no big deal. She talks about the identity loss, the resentment, the emptiness, the part of you that knows you're a whole human with purpose beyond keeping everyone fed and alive, and how hard it is to admit that out loud without guilt. So in this conversation, we get into what that moment actually feels like when you come up for air. Maybe you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, and you realize, I don't want to live on autopilot anymore. I want more, and I'm allowed to want more. Lucy now coaches women through that exact transition, getting clear on what you actually value, noticing where you're quietly angry or depleted, which is really a great signal, reconnecting with what lights you up, and then this is key, taking the next tiny step, not blowing up your entire life overnight, just creating enough space to breathe, get honest, and move towards something that feels like you. We talk about practical tools you can start using today, like value work, noticing your inner voice without letting it run you, finding micro moments of joy and purpose that belong to you, not your job title, not your kids, but you. So if you're in that place where you're burned out in your career, or you're considering starting something on your own, or you're just feeling this low hum of there has to be more than this, I want you to hear this and know you are not broken for wanting more. You're waking up. I cannot wait for you to meet Lucy. Let's get into it. Welcome to Scale with Clarity, the podcast for entrepreneurs who are building a business and a life that actually feels good. I'm Brooke Koeninger, fractional CFO, strategist, and mom of three, and I've learned that scaling isn't just about hitting revenue milestones. It's about finding alignment between your big vision and your everyday reality. Each week, you'll hear honest conversations with founders who are redefining success on their own terms. We'll talk about the pivots, the aha moments, and the tough decisions behind the scenes. Plus, the surprising ways entrepreneurship becomes the greatest personal growth journey of all. Whether you're dreaming of leaving corporate, navigating the messy middle, or trying to grow without burning out, this show is here to help you scale with more clarity, confidence, and ease. Because building a business should expand you, not deplete you. Let's scale with clarity together. Lucy, hi. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so
my
excited.
Gosh. Oh, Lucy, so we, for the listeners, we first connected relatively recently ago, and it was supposed to be just a quick touch base, which I love doing, which is why I have the podcast. I love meeting people and hearing their stories. And I think it was supposed to be 20 or 30 minutes, and we talked for like 90.
We could have talked all day. We could have gone on a spa retreat day.
It was unbelievable. And this is what I love, because it's why I think communities are so important, because you talk to people and you're like, oh, you like are in my brain. All the things, all the like experiences, and like, I'm not alone. You get it, like all the things. So I'm like, I could have talked to you forever. And so of course I was like, you got to come on the podcast, share your story and all the things that you're talking about, because it so resonates with me and others need to hear it. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
How about we start? Will you introduce yourself, just who you are, what you do currently, and then we can rewind back to the beginning of your
Okay.
heyday.
So I'm Australian. That's a funny accent, but I have been in the States for since 1997. I got moved over here on a global guinea pig exchange program. It's the first one, account management, a big global ad agency. And then
by choice, I'm just gonna hop in all the time. Did you want to come to the States? Was that like always on your
anywhere in the world?
Really?
I was 25.
You're like, I just want to go explore.
I'm like, where can I go in the world? So I'd already lived in London. I'm the Aussie. We backpack around the world after college, uni. So I chose San Francisco because it was doing so well. Came over, the tech boom hadn't quite happened yet. It was starting. And I'm like, I want to go work for a tech account. It was all set up. I sold everything, packed up, said goodbye to my family. I arrived. They switched the jobs on me on arrival and said, "Well, you can go home." They put me on a packaged goods account. It was god awful. There was zero creativity, 1 hour a year versus I was working on, I launched a cable company in Australia and it was phenomenal. Creative awards everywhere. Anyway, long story short, I sucked it up. I did the job because it got me to an environment where there was so much going on in the Bay Area in 1997. So, and then I got moved into another position. They were going to fire me. And I said to the president, I'm like, no, why? But that's BS. I came over here. You switched the jobs. I was so ballsy. I'm like, I have nothing to lose.
Yes. Let's talk about that.
That is
Just
actually
be
my motto.
a 20.
You're here later. What if it all works out? I had nothing to lose. So they put me into business development and we did really well. And then I got headhunted to an incubator and I headed up the senior director of marketing and brand strategy. And that was a phenomenal experience where we launched IP from Fortune 500 companies, from small entrepreneur teams, all the groups, all the companies survived. Of course, we only charged equity, so we went under. And then went on to do business development for high-end graphic design firms in the US, and then moved to Australia where I got married and had my first kid. And then came back going, okay, where's my career? Supporting my ex-husband's career. And I then went into software companies where I did their business development and their brand strategy. So at the same time, a very close, near tragic accident happened where my eldest son drowned, survived, where it just put I had no family support of my immediate family, where then we had 2 years of medical issues afterwards.
Can
So
I pause? Okay.
yeah.
So you're back in the States.
Yeah, back in the
Your
States.
husband at the time, is he American? Does he have
Yeah.
family here?
Yeah, big
Yeah,
family.
big family here, but you have left your family that's all in Australia, all of
Yeah,
your personal support system.
yeah.
You have your firstborn was then how old at this time?
4, and then I had a second one that was 2.
And at 2 years old or somewhere around there, he had a near drowning
Yeah, the
experience.
oldest one drowned at 4. So he
Oh,
actually physically drowned and was in NICU and took 12, 15, 16 hours to come back.
oh my
So
God.
in that happening, and my second child got diagnosed. So then there was 2 years of medical issues for that first child. The second child got diagnosed with a major processing and development delay. So then I'm like, there's something off, typical mum, you have the gut, you know something's off. So with all this exploding, I'm like, I have to let go of my career for now. I couldn't deal. I didn't know. I just had to hunker down and figure out my kids. So my second,
Can I ask you,
yeah,
pause there too, because I mean, those are big life events that can very clearly say, I've got to reprioritize. Were you, so I know not everyone is in that, like very black and white. That's a huge experience, but I do think sometimes it's hard to say, like you had said, you were out of alignment. You're like, I've got to prioritize my family. Was that a hard decision? Or was that with like, my family's always come first? And that like stepping back from a career that has
yeah.
been sort of your identity for a while, how did that feel in the moment? Or was it a
Oh, it
relief that
was
you could
so
focus on
confusing.
family?
I mean, the choice was clear because I was so overwhelmed. However, there was so much of my identity. I loved my career. I was really good at it. I mean, I got this global exchange from
You moved across the world
thousands
for
of
it. I mean,
employees. They chose me. I
yeah.
mean, it was insane. And then as I was lifting off, really lifting off, the trajectory of life led me a different path.
Yeah.
So it was clear the decision, but the aftermath for the whole time I took off, it was a struggle for me the whole time. I needed both.
You know what comes up for me too? We talk a lot about seasons of life, and I intuitively get that, but I don't think when you're when the season changes, you're necessarily ready for it, if that makes sense. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
had kids when I had my first, I just kind of thought nothing professionally is going to change for me. I wasn't ready to, I guess what I now know is clearly a different season and my priorities had to shift. But I was a lag. Like my priorities shifting was a lag from my life actually shifting, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
that's what it sounds like for you. You were kind of thrust into the new season of like, okay, what's my priority and what's got to change? You know,
Yeah. My
like,
physical space changed before my mental space was ready. I was
yeah.
the opposite. I was still my identity was my career and my self-worth was attached around that. Then I had to really work really hard because I went into 5 years of therapy for my 2nd kid, 4 days a week, while I had a 3rd kid with a medical issue. So it was just a cluster. It was really hard bad situation. But the l I struggled. I struggled with letting my career go. That was needed at the time, and then I would struggle because my bucket was empty. When hindsight, I not sure how I would have done it differently because it was such a cute situation, but this is why I'm so fired up with for women and mums that keep on something for yourself.
Yeah,
Keep that career in some capacity or some passion or some pursuit, impact alive while you're having kids. So I didn't want to live vicariously through my kids.
I know.
I didn't want
I
to live
know.
with regret, which is why I picked it up. Um,
That's my driver, Lucy. I always thought, I don't know what the answer is. I'm sad when I'm not with my kids. I don't feel as fulfilled when I don't have my career, so I didn't know what the answer was, but I was like, I know I don't want to wake up 10 years and regret. I don't know what that is. I don't know what I will regret, but I just want to, I need to figure it out now because I don't want to have that and not be able to do anything about it at that point.
yeah. And I think this is like, you don't want to live vicariously full time through your children. You want to live life for them and to be a role model to them, to show that how much impact I have as a human. I'm not just the chauffeur, the cook, the blah, blah, blah. So it's so crucial for women to go after what you want in life and be it big or small. And I love that what you said about not knowing the end. I didn't know the end. I just took the first step to what I was leaning towards and
Yeah.
what was really important to me and what excited me. And then the
And I,
next step.
and I want to normalize that. And I want to talk about that next step too, because I hear a lot about, and I say this too, I outsourced my identity to my job and my, kids. It was kind of the check the box thing. And those were my two identities. And don't do that. And, go after, make sure you maintain something you like. That's easier said than done, not because of the time commitment. That's certainly a factor. But I didn't know. Like there's action and effort to even figure out what you like and what you want and what fulfills you. And so in my mind, I thought I should just know it. And so when I had the day that was free, I kind of froze. Like, I don't even know what to do to fill my own bucket. And so I want to kind of normalize that because that's what you're saying too, is that's not necessarily easy and just comes to you. That in and of itself is effort to figure out what that is and also ever
That's
changing.
its own exploration, and I do that with my clients. It's an exploration of trying on just lean towards it. What's it look like? Open the box, crack the window open. Unless we crack it open, you're never gonna see what's on the other side. By sabotaging it by not even opening the door or window, I love my visuals, then you just never know. So just
And so would you tell the person like try on different activities or like where do you start when you're in that? Like,
so we start with the values and we this. And I know people so overuse the word, but I call it the life guardrails. So we do these deep value exercises where we would get really, and until I knew my three, I seriously was kind of lost and
yeah,
like, okay, that's cool. I could go that, I could do that, I could do that, I could do that because I'm capable and resilient and resourceful, but it didn't speak to my heart.
yeah,
The values speak to your whole being, where it's what's most important to you in life. It's what
yeah,
excites you in life. It's your impact. So
yeah,
knowing that, then you go, huh, what about this? What about that? And it's talking, having conversations. It's initiating, it's the networking, it's initiating connections. What the hell? Why not? Just explore it. Open up the book, see what's inside. If it still excites you, keep doing what's the
yeah,
next step? You don't have to commit to the end goal.
yeah. And
Don't
I,
it overwhelms.
when I first did a values exercise too, and we talked about this when we last talked, I think I had kind of minimized, not kind of, I had minimized the importance of values and knowing your values. I kind of pushed it off as just another one of those exercises you do, but you never actually use. And the one that finally hit me, because I always thought values are, as they should, kind of what defines how you want to live and what's important to you. And I looked at that as, follow me here for a second, like a positive thing. But the exercise I did, also asked you to evaluate what angers you so much. What is the last time you've been so angry, or somebody just like the action or the thing, and it finally clicked that I was living in a state of kind of okayness, reacting to the job and what my family needed. And the thing that would get the big emotion from me was not necessarily the happiness and the excitement, but it was the anger. I'd get mad at my husband because he wasn't there or whatever. And so by assessing those feelings, I was like, oh, some value's not getting met here. And that was the thing that started, like, even if I didn't ever think I could crest, of course, I want to be like, live this super fulfilling, happy life and just be like overjoyed. But I also want to minimize those like, why am I so angry and depleted and frustrated? And that was like, I was like, oh, this is why it's important too, to really know it.
Both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
With clients, we go, okay, what is the theme across peak moments? What's present? What's going on? What's being met? Needs being met? What is getting triggered in those, holy God, I'm going to explode? And I think that was what was missing for me in my career break. That one of my values is purpose. I needed purpose for myself beyond having kids is a really huge purpose, but I needed something for myself. And that's what was triggering me in that phase of life that wasn't being met. So once I figured that out, I'm like, okay, there's no other way, Lucy. You have to be true to yourself. You're going to be that friction is going to keep existing unless you go and explore what it is.
And so I totally agree. And how long did someone introduce you to values? Was that, I mean, or is this kind of looking back now, what you help other women with when you were in that moment? So you were taking the career break. Were you aware of what was missing at the time, or you were so depleted? What finally shifted to say, okay, now I've got it? Were the kids in an okay place then, where you said, okay, I have the wherewithal to focus on me again? Like what changed and transpired to say, okay, now I got to figure this out for me?
The work of the values work really deeply happened when I did my training and then massaged and really solidified in my certification process of coaching. When I came out and going, okay, what I really want with my life is when the kids stabilized and my marriage blew up. So they stabilized and the marriage blew up. And
You're
then,
like, the hits keep coming.
oh, yeah, and then divorce hit very quickly. And then COVID 6 months later. And then in California with a preteen, 3 boys under 12, 13. So we were at home for a good 10 months
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
home. It was
Yeah.
brutal. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, what? So as we were coming out of like, I don't know, it was 2021,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not it. You have way more to give. I need to get rid of that friction. It was bugging me. It wouldn't go away, even though I was volunteering and then the kids were thriving because of all the work I'd put into them. I needed to come back to me. So it was taking that first step. I think that answers your question.
Yeah. And then, so when you started looking internally and you said, okay, COVID, the divorce, COVID, and oh, by the way, I talked to so many women that, I mean, I shouldn't say just women. COVID had so many so no one would have wished that on anybody, but I think the universe also delivered some clarity, at least. You were forced to shut down all the noise and just be in your house, good or bad, with those that were surrounding you. And really, I think coming out of that, they talk about the Great Resignation and a lot of women decided to leave court. Like, I think it really helped crystallize either if you're unhappy or happy, what was important to you, what was not, and just like some thought work through that.
Yeah, I think it gave space. I
Yeah,
couldn't
that's a good word.
open up honestly until I had the headspace. I was so overwhelmed in the thick of what my life was like with the situations I was dealing with that I didn't have the headspace to be clear or be open to exploring.
Yeah.
So it was when that opportunity that my own headspace opened up. That was the power, I think. And I allowed myself, a lot of it is giving yourself permission to explore and to get deep with what was going on, to get honest with myself. A lot of my role in what I do now and what I had to do with myself is get honest with myself. I wanted more. And it's okay to want more. It's okay not to be okay with fine.
Yes.
An autopilot.
Can we pause on that? That is so, so important. I say the same thing too. A lot of times, I don't know if we talked about this last time too, so we covered a lot of topics. But that how I hear a lot of women saying, like, double guilting themselves, right? If you're not happy with something, but, others have it worse, or my kids are healthy, my job, I have a great job, who am I to complain? And I think that's where you get on this autopilot, like we talked about, right? Which is just, but you're allowed to hope and wish and want for more. You're allowed to. And it's that wanting that starts then the exploration for what could it even be? Like,
Mhm. It's that deep desire. It's like opening up the box. I ask clients, what is the deepest desire? Not in here, but in your heart, in your body. What's the deepest desire? And it could be grandiose. It could be small. It could be, there's an element there of truth. There's a nugget there that's there for all of us. And I call it the pilot light. It's on. It just hasn't been lit. So we all talk about gratitude a lot right now in our world. And it is really important to have gratitude. But it's also really crucial for women to allow themselves to want more. We can go after what we want in life. We're in chapter 2. That's why I focus on women 40s and beyond, because we're kind of in autopilot before that with our career, our education, our career, children when they're young. And you come for air in your 40s and 50s and go, there's something, there's more, there's more.
yeah. Yeah. We talked about this. In my experience, it's been right around 35 to 40 women are saying, oh my gosh, it's the exact story that we've talked about. You've outsourced your identity to kind of some of these other things in an effort, just reactive, whether it's just reactive or you thought the happiness would come when I've got all these things. And it's so busy and life asks so much of you in those years of young children and working. But yeah, you get to a point where you're like, and for me, it was because my kids finally weren't infant stage. And I had a little bit more of a breath to say, okay, what does this even look like? Because I don't want to minimize that takes up headspace too, figuring yourself out. So when it's all
Yeah.
filled up with
You have
just the
to have
kids and
space.
yes,
You have to give yourself space and permission with compassion. So I do this a lot with my clients, not coming from a place of fear of judgment, because that is our limiting beliefs, that is the sabotaging thoughts, that's the inner critic. It is not with compassion. Compassion is our future self. It's what would be proud of ourselves, what would make ourselves proud of ourselves. So, and that just allows us to be open and not shut down. Really powerful headspace to think about. With compassion, what would I say to myself today when I'm losing my and it's got all
truly,
holes in the air?
truly how mean we are to ourselves. I mean, everyone, but the first step is the awareness in that inner dialogue that you have with yourself, because it's so loud, but we have this almost sound barrier where you can't hear what you're saying to yourself. Like it's just this inherent. And once you realize that how much you're quieting your true dreams and aspirations and wants, and like you said, I love that pilot light. You kind of, and then I always said, like, oh, you're not creative, or you just whatever you might be telling yourself, and you like have this little snippet. It's like you don't know where it's going to lead, like how
Yeah,
big that fire could get once you
yeah.
allow it to start burning.
And also uncover, like reveal the truth. So with clients, they'll have a negative narrative that's built up over time. It got planted at some point and it built up over time as truth. It is not the truth. It is not 100% true. So we unpack it. Instead of like just pushing it away, we actually pull it in as our friend, because what we want the voices to play in the same playground. We don't want them to be competing. We want them to be like, okay, what do you need to see and hear from a compassionate point of view, from a compassionate space? So then they get quieter. They're not so noisy and mean. They feel like they've been given a hug. And I know it sounds kind of out there, but then you're aware when you know the different voices, you're aware then of and the energy where it sits in your body, how it feels before it starts making decisions for you. You're aware which voice is going on.
You had mentioned this, I think, before too, because I realized as you're saying this how much I live in my head and not in my body. And just really,
Most of
I
us.
try and just explain things, analyze it, make sense of it, as opposed to your point, sitting with it and saying, how does that really feel? And what do I want? And just where do I feel that? And really getting in tune with with what some people call your inner voice or your gut or your whatever it may be that is talking to you, as opposed to because that's when the head comes in, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, is when you have then the negative thoughts and the inner voice, like all those things that are just going to muddy it. The ego comes into play, as opposed to what do I really want and need in this moment, in this life, in this season of life, whatever it may be.
Starting from here, the mind has a job. When we want to execute and figure out the logistics and the structure and how we're going to go about it, that's its job. Go for it. It's crucial to sit in and really go, what do I truly want for myself? And connecting the mind and the heart and the mind and the body. So it's not working separately, but connecting it. They're not competing. Each one has its job, but allowing yourself to be really honest. So one client called me the truth teller or the BS revealer.
BS reveal.
It's like an onion where you peel back the onion. It might make you cry and not easy, but when you get to the end and you caramelize those onions, it's absolutely so tasty and amazing. It's powerful because then you know truly what you want for yourself.
So much easier said than done, but the output and the outcome, so worth it.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a painful process. It's actually an enlightening process. It releases these tensions and this heaviness in the process. So then you're liberated and confident and clear what you want to do as the next step.
Exactly. Like you had said, just the next step.
Yeah.
If we go back, back to your story, and when you decided, okay, I've had this pause with my kids. They're in a good place where my relationship as it was is no longer COVID. I'm able to breathe a little bit more. We're getting through it. What was your first inclination? Okay, I'll go back to kind of the corporate job that I came from. Where was your headspace then, was saying, okay, now I'm ready to reprioritize myself a little bit more?
My headspace was to go back and do business development as a consultant, which I did before, and reconnect. And I actually started doing it. And I was like, I wasn't excited about it. I was kind of like, okay, this is cool. I was excited about having a direction.
Yeah.
But the execution didn't excite me. And I started working with clients. I'm like, oh, this is not it. I actually looked at coaching when I was 28. I actually looked at the same program I ended up training with. And I thought that time, I'm not ready. I don't know what I'm doing. This doesn't feel right. And so I'm like, I'm going to go back. And I first went and got coached. And then I'm like, I'm going to do the training, see how that feels. I'm going to do the certification, see how that feels. And then on certification, I'm like, okay, I'm going to launch my business, see where it goes. And it keeps evolving and evolving, evolving. And now, like it's just, it's phenomenal. I love it. I'm like so fired up, and I just absolutely, there's days that are hard, and I have to have compassion and use my own tools and have my own mentor coach. Because it's hard to do this work in your own. It's hard to be in your own little bubble and ask those deeper, harder questions. Part of my role is to challenge the narrative going on.
Yeah.
And to kind of tease out or challenge, like when you throw out a challenge with a client, they'll be like, say, okay, what was the challenge I did the other day? Something like, I want you to reach out to 10 people this week. To this woman who's launching this a phenomenal business. And she's like, okay, oh my gosh. And she was kind of excited about the challenge. So it's not like a negative way to challenge. It's there's in your intuition, there's a spark there. It's putting that lighter to the pilot light.
I always like to say, and I don't know your thoughts on this, but we are constantly evolving and growing and expanding, as we should be. And there is pushing your comfort zone in an exciting way. Like you say, probably this woman who there's nervous energy, but excited. And where will this lead me? But oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. Or what if I get, all those things that might come up. And then there's pushing yourself pushing your comfort zone in a way that might not be in alignment. And I see this a lot with maybe people who do stay in a job or they're unhappy. And maybe like you said you went back to business development and you weren't excited anymore. And so if you continued that might be expanding yourself, but in something that isn't in alignment. And I don't know if you see this with the people you work with too, and kind of how you can discern the differences. And maybe it's back to the values, like you said, you'd go back to that, or like maybe in the body, how you know to push yourself in the right way and you're not doing it in the negative way.
Negative way. Yeah, I think there's multiple, we use multiple different tools. Like with one client, she really doesn't like, or she didn't really like her job. So we reframed the job because it was a band-aid interim job for financial security. So we reframed it on, okay, what is the purpose of this job right now? It gives her space and time and calmness to be able to get out of fight and flight mode and into exploration mode. So if she quit that job, she wouldn't have had that able to like bring things down a notch to be like, okay, what can I then be more open about and have the energy and headspace to do?
I love that because I say with my,
Pressure off.
yeah, because my experience when I left my corporate job is I was given a leeway. So I stayed long enough that I could get a package. So I had that space without being in the environment. And I always think if I stayed in the environment I was in, I was so ingrained in the culture and the identity that I was within that company, it would have been hard for me to change my boundaries and figure out what I wanted because it was just all encompassing. But that's not the same aspect for everybody. So I love what you said too, is if you can shift it to, it's not, oh, I have to be here because I don't have enough financial bandwidth to leave, or I have to, leave right now. It's, this is it for me right now. But realizing that you have such a long runway of life
And it's
in,
not forever and it's
yeah,
not your next job. And I mean, another client really loves the purpose and mission of her large corporation. And she's phenomenal at her job. She leads like 10 different teams. So then we really focused on what she loves about her job and what kind of leader she is, and really building her confidence to show for fact the impact she has at that company. So maybe she doesn't want to go into executive leadership or executive up the typical line. So then she wants to create how to be a leader in that organization for all the other teams. And that is now her direction. From the work we did, we got really clear on what she loved about her and not following that ought to path.
I also wanted, clearly, you and I resonate on a lot of this. I love that because one of the other things I see a lot is people in an unhappy place leaving and basically just running away from the unhappiness. So I hate this job. My boss, I can't stand it. My company's going through multiple layoffs. Whether it's fear or frustration, in that mindset, you tend to jump then to something you think will just make you happier, but it's really you're just running away from it. And I always like to say, if you can figure out what you like, what fulfills you, even if it's a sliver of what you're doing right now, then you'll turn towards something that makes you happy as opposed to going away from unhappiness. Does that resonate to you? I think there's
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
mindset shift, right?
It's the reframe. It's
Yeah,
the reframe and giving you time so you're not panicking. You don't want to be in that fear and panic mode. You want to be able to set, and even taking a interim contracting job or a consulting job. And I know there's a lot of people out of work right now and the layoffs are brutal. And I see it on LinkedIn all the time. So giving yourself space and with compassion. So you kind of touched on that. What if it works out? So you never know from those conversations, like just leaning into really what you love doing and any part of your job or your career or what you used to do, whatever it is, and leaning towards conversations. You never know where that can lead. And I think with the resumes and the AI and the bots going on right now, the human connection is the most powerful tool you can do. So the resume, it's a piece of paper or it's a file online. Leaning into just what if it works out? Just what the hell? Make
yeah.
well, text, email. I think truly people like to help. I'm a true believer of that.
I absolutely agree. And I I love the aspect and the thought of leaning into the curiosity which then in my mind leads to the creativity. When you're coming from a place of lack or frustration, and you can think of like, there's Maslow's hierarchy of needs or whatever. And so certainly if you are in a place of so depleted with young kids asking everything of you and a job that is you're unhappy with, and just it is hard to just jump to that.
Oh, yeah.
So to your point, we've already talked about, create the space, do the values exercise, get quiet for a little bit, and however long that may take. But then I love that next step is just curiosity. You don't have to have the answers, but when you open yourself up to, and this is a lot of women and men I talk to that want to leave, start their own solopreneur thing. What do I need to do? And they want the plan. It's like curiosity. Ask people like, what are you doing? How do you do that? Like reaching out to the people, and just, it's like no expectation, but just information gathering. And would I like that? Would I like that? I love that as kind of a next step without any expectation of it has to be the answer to something.
And curiosity is where you're excited. It's basically curiosity. You're coming from a place of, "Ooh, that triggers something. There's a spark there." So that is where you're excited and what's important to you, and you're never gonna be ready. That's the honest truth. You're not gonna be ready. I had one client going to this global climate, conference in Brussels. She's like, "Oh, I'm not quite ready yet with my business plan." I'm like, "Just ask their opinion and say it's in formulation process." Just who knows? This is a situation and an audience that is prime. And she stepped into what if it works out? What the hell? And from a place of curiosity, and she got an audience with people that are the leaders in the climate change space. But she would never, that opportunity would have missed if she waited till she was ready.
So many aspects of that, which I love. Thank you for sharing that story too, because you don't know until you try. And I've talked about failure before, the concept of failure, how growing up, and it goes with growth mindset versus fixed mindset. We've heard a lot about it. A lot of times, especially making a change like this or stepping out of what you've always said your identity is into a potentially new one, which is, going out on your own or starting your business or switching a job, career change, like total change. You're faced with the potential for, quote, failure. But if you switch that to, those are all micro tests that mean nothing about you. It is all about figuring out what you love. Does this resonate? Do I like this? If you can switch it to that, it makes it so much less personal. And it's like, of course, I've got to try all these like little things. And you've said this before. Maybe you can elaborate on this too. It's that small next step. You've talked about like the concept of even a next job. If you're unhappy, it's like, what is that temporary thing I'm going to get just to see there's tests in there, and I'm not committing to anything long term, but you could apply that to any number of things too. It's these micro tests. It's not failures.
Using the word failure has so much heaviness around it. I would call it micro learnings. I would call it, okay, is it really failure? I would challenge it. That's what we do with my clients, the limiting beliefs. Is that failure? Did you fail? Like, is that 100% true? No. So why don't we call it learnings? Why don't we call it something and we're not just making this up. It's real. Like it is learning. If you don't, you'll have regret. If you don't try and you stay where you are, you'll be miserable. So why not try? You got nothing to lose, and try in a micro step. It could be tiny. It could be one phone call, one email, one text. And then you see that the world doesn't fall apart when you send that, and even if they don't respond, you formulated a great message and it got clearer. Every time I write a proposal to an organization I really want to work with, it gives me so much more clarity and confidence, even in me voicing it, claiming it, bringing it into the physical space, going for it. Walking the talk is a huge part of this. Like
Yes.
actually physically doing it, I'm proving to myself that I can trust myself.
Yeah.
And that is a huge component of the work that I do, is trusting yourself that you have your own back. And even if one direction doesn't work out, another one's going to open up.
Yeah. I
So trusting the process too.
I love that about having your own back, because two things. One, it's like building that relationship with yourself where you trust yourself. So there's such a big aspect of that, and how that can, until you do it, it's hard to explain the feeling, but you're like, it's so good that you are leveraging yourself instead of that external validation. Like I trust that this is,
Liberating. It's like,
yeah.
oh my God, what else can I do? The world
Yeah.
didn't fall apart. I learned all this stuff. I'm like, I'm on fire. Who's
Yeah.
next?
Well, and that's the other thing. Coming from a former, well, still recovering people pleaser, perfectionist. The other
I'm a
thing that I've
recovering
learned,
perfectionist.
the other thing that I've learned is it actually is not that bad. It doesn't feel as bad as I feared when someone, quote, rejects you or the thing doesn't go as you expected. And every time that's happened, I've like tipped again, small steps into that. But I'm like, oh, I don't know why I spent my whole life trying to avoid that feeling because it's actually not that bad. The more I've filled up with happy things, these aren't actually as big as I feared. And it's all of that, like proving to yourself that it is so much better than worse when you're
What's
following this.
fascinating with clients, I see it where they're like, oh, it's such a big deal at the beginning of the session. By the end of it, I'm like, okay, let's reflect. What do you think now about, where you sat at the beginning? What's the perspective now? And they're like, oh, it's not a big deal. I'll figure it out. And you know what we did? So we do this visualization where we build the version of the person they want to be, who they want to be, not what they want to be, but who they want to be. And then we try that on in baby steps. So I do three different visualizations. One's future self, one's inner leader, and one's your life impact statement. And because we embody it, then they know the energy, the feeling, the mantras, the intellectual. It could be a color, a song, an image, and then we bring that into real life. We put it on your desktop. We put the post-it note on your office wall. And then every step, decision, baby, big, whatever, you refer back to that version. Mine's sunshine. What would sunshine do? I know it sounds out there, but it brings you back to what's the body position? I've one client before a big exec meeting, she gets into a certain body position. It ignites the energy of that version of herself, hers is superwoman, of who she wants to be. And it's inside her. It's not, yeah, it's inside her now. It's building that version of her now. And you try it on bit by bit. Before you know it, you are that version of yourself.
Yeah. I like that also. Not only is it already inside of you, but it's in your life. And what I mean by that is when I started sinking into that type of an exercise, I started realizing how my happiness wasn't out there in the next thing and title or job. I actually had so much of it in my life. And what I thought what that would lead to by noticing more and more of that is this lack of aspiration. Because I'm like, oh, well, then this is my life. I don't need anything else, which I don't. But what it actually showed me was, to your point, I started realizing what it felt like to be like, what are those things? How does it really feel to be truly grateful and happy and inspired and whatever all those feelings are. So it showed me then the breadcrumbs to continue to have that. It's like when you have your favorite dessert. It's not like you're never going to want it. You're like, okay, now I know what good tastes like. And so I'm going to continue. And that's like the start of then following that. And then, oh, I have that feeling come up again. So I want more of this. So it actually is like back to the original, that pilot light that says, this is what it feels like. Now I want more and more of this.
Yeah, what we do with clients is and I wrote one too. Before I started this journey, I wrote a joy list. So with my clients, we do an accomplishment list. As women, we're really bad at acknowledging small, big, little, whatever, all of our tiny accomplishments. Like one client's like, oh yeah, I've done this and this and this. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Huge.
down, put that down. Like she got asked to do a speech at this huge corporation. I'm like, so we actually have the list of physical space, physically writing it out, implants it into our brain. We're building these new neuron pathways. There's science behind this. The neuroscience is the more we put attention and energy towards it and acknowledge it in our body and physical space, the more it's a physical manifestation. It's action oriented manifestation. The more then our body wants for it, we see it, and we take action towards it. It really works and powerful. So having that accomplishment list is just such a huge impact on our personal lives, and then builds that confidence again.
There's so many. Lucy, I need to go back through this recording and pull all of there's like the 10 steps to a more fulfilling life. But I think one of the main big takeaways from all of these is if you're in a space, anybody, but I'm going to focus on probably a lot of the listeners who maybe are in a space of overwhelm at work or not happiness, thinking about doing their own thing, making a change. There's so many exercises out there, but I think all of them bubble up to do not minimize the impact of taking multiple quiet moments to really sink into yourself and your body and say, what would my highest, you said what are the three exercises? Like what are my values? What is my happiest like self? How am I embodying that? Like really quiet time with yourself to envision that, because then you can start taking the small actions and breadcrumbs to start making that too.
There's some free exercises out there. So I would get very clear on your values. Brené Brown has a great 1-page, it's free, and it's your peak moments, your triggered moments, and you choose 3, and you can have word maps. I allow my clients to have word maps. So one can represent the others. And then that's a step towards clarity. So it's not just, it's personal time and space, but it's physically taking action in that personal time and space and proving to your body and your brain that you are serious and committed to yourself, and you're giving yourself permission. So it's a values exercise. There's another exercise called positive intelligence, which is free, where it really shows what sabotaging habits and traits that you have that are in existence are pretty ingrained.
Oh, I haven't taken that. I'm taking this one when we get off too.
And it's not about focusing. It's really good information. We talked about before about the limiting beliefs. Now we bring it in and really get it to talk and have its voice so it calms down and we can address what's it's needing. But it's not about focusing on these negative traits. It's being aware. It's an awareness of what's going on. So then you're like, oh, this is my hypervigilance. This is my overachiever. Okay, hello. What do you want from me?
Yeah, and not
be in charge.
Not with shame that you're in that place, but
From
just
compassion.
there you are.
Compassion. Yeah, and so that's 2 exercises. The other one I would do is, who do you want to be?
Mm.
And what does it look like? What does it feel like? When in your life have you been that version? And write all of this out and put on Post-it notes. Like, bring it into your daily life. Put it on the wall. Like, bring this into your daily life. So that's the visualization tool. That it's not just visualization. It's the digging deep of what's going on. And so from that visualization, you get very clear on who you want to be. So we're bringing that to life, as I talked about the colors and the mantra, the song, the affirmations, a statement. There's a statement for that. And then also you can do another exercise about your limiting beliefs. Write every single one down and flip the script. How is that opposite statement true? And write evidence for that and let it sit. Look at it, let it sit, and do it from an objective point of view in terms of flipping the script. It's really powerful. And now I do it on walks where I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I'm not, hang on. Flip the script. What's the evidence? So it becomes this kind of natural muscle that we build in our brains. I'd also say accountability. Find an accountability partner. Tell someone what you're doing. Write it out. It's this physical, bringing it out of our body into physical space is the action, is proving to yourself that you can trust yourself and that you're walking the talk.
Clearly you are such a wealth of, not only a wealth of amazing information, which you've shared, but also because you've been there too, like having the lived experience that a lot of people, it brings such an empathetic viewpoint too, that you've lived it, you've gone through it. But exactly what you just said, I want to reiterate that there's so many amazing exercises like the ones you've mentioned, which I will link in the show notes, that everyone should do. Also, easier said than done to prioritize yourself when you haven't gotten used to it. Change all those beliefs. So having someone like you in your corner that can help hold you accountable to prioritizing yourself and figuring out what you want and questioning those beliefs when you say it out loud and someone like yourself says, where's that coming from, is so critically important to actually making the change that needs to happen so you can change your life in the future. All that to say, I love what you're doing and everyone needs it, and especially the target that you are, women 40 plus.
What a choice. What a choice. It lands differently. I'm going to do a post on LinkedIn about it. It just lands differently. I think women put ourselves down.
Yeah.
We put everyone else first.
Yep.
There's a mass, and there's no inequity in the corporate workforce. And I think they deserve and need more support. And it just lands, the work lands differently. They're way more vulnerable. Vulnerability is like Velcro. That's something I really, really, truly learned from my divorce. That when you allow yourself to give yourself permission to be open, opportunities just come up. And when you start talking about it and walking the talk, I know I keep saying that, but it's baby steps, just one step. And then the next step.
It's
And I'm wanting
like
to serve more and more communities in this space. I know we talked about this, is being kind of the resident, meeting women where they are now and not waiting for doing a long-term commitment, but helping community groups, women community groups, networking groups, business groups. We need the structure. We need the workbooks and the tools. But unless you have that mindset support, you need both. They're both as critical.
Because it doesn't happen overnight.
No.
It happens over prolonged, repeated actions and reinforcing it and seeing it in others and feeling how it feels in yourself. So I couldn't agree more. It's like I'm getting shivers. I'm like, yes.
The real work happens out in the real world, but coming back, I'm like what do you call it? Charging station?
Yeah.
It's like the electron pasta.
Yeah, that's right.
Nation where you get
We
to
need-
pause, stop,
We need
and
more charging stations.
yes, especially for women. Women only.
I know. So Lucy, where can people find you? Clearly you are needed. I'm like, I need you. I'm so happy I found you. Where can they find you? How can they work with you?
So LinkedIn, you'll hear me speak vulnerably, openly, direct. My Aussiness comes out. I can't help myself. So I post multiple times a week on LinkedIn. My website, lucyregancoaching.com. I keep it simple. That's who I am. Open, direct, and simple. And where else can you find me? That's really it. So yeah, different offerings, different packages. I really want to help now. I want to make this accessible and help now because I see so many women suffering and women that there's so much potential and fire. And I'm like, oh, let's go.
Yeah. There's nothing that should be holding you back. We can do this. I agree, because that is clearly my passion too. I'm like, you have so much potential, so much. We just need to just light the fire under you.
I'm a true belief that we're all naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. It's tapping back into that, our own charging station.
Everyone listening hears that. It's so true. There's so much potential there. So Lucy, thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you are putting out there in the world. So I'll put all of the website and the resources that you mentioned and links to your LinkedIn page in the show notes. So reach out to Lucy. Thank you for being on here and sharing all of this information.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure.
So happy we connected.
Oh, me too. We'll have to do a round 2 of this. Absolutely.
We will.
Okay.
See you soon. Bye.